with India's largest aerospace company. So, and I think there's a press release that we will be circulating on that. We are continuing to do various sourcing contracts. The PATI has certain indigenous equipment that are going to be built here, and we have contracted with ECIL, HAL Avionics, Bharat Electronics, and Aventel to build those specific indigenous equipment that will get onto the PATI. Again, very significant. And as a general comment, the PATI comes into the Indian Navy and United States Navy at the same time, which is very significant for those that talk about reliability and technology and so forth. Here you have two countries coming together, getting a state-of-the-art platform simultaneously. This is to talk about the industrial aspect that I referred to across the various programs. We are executing on the PATI program. As soon as the contract was signed, we started to work with the different companies in India. We have contracts in place for Super Hornet gun bay doors as well as wire harnesses with HAL. In fact, 5 ship sets of the gun bay doors from HAL have gone on to the have been shipped for the US jets, which is very significant because it represents India to be now part of that global supply chain, which is not only on the commercial side now, but also on the defense side with these going on our fighter aircraft. And also the first ship set of the wire harnesses has been completed by HAL, which again is for the F-18 platform. As we look at the industry, of course, there are opportunities that I talked about. I think over time there could be a requirement for additional P-8s as India looks to secure its vast coastline of over 7,000 kilometers. Rotorcraft, of course, is in the competition, C-17 and Super Hornet. And so, and the next slide will talk specifically about Super Hornet again in terms of our industrial participation. But other focus areas, we talk about manufacturing, but there's training and simulation. Obviously, as these platforms come into country, there will be a desire to grow the defense infrastructure and us to support that. Training and simulation, raw material supply development, research and development, like Dinesh mentioned, these are all areas that we're looking at as we expand our business. Just to remind, the industrial engagement is just not Boeing by itself. We have a whole range of first-tier suppliers in the United States. In fact, the top 16 suppliers in the United States for our F-18, their annual revenues are $454 billion, a huge conglomerate from the United States that's partnered with 38 Indian companies on the Super Hornet program should we win that competition. So again, a huge commitment, and that's what this chart talks to. This again is the MMRCA Industrial Partnership Plan. 16 companies, $440 billion plus in terms of 2008 revenues. It represents a huge conglomerate of aerospace companies coming together and signing up with, again, 38 Indian companies. The goals of this endeavor in the industrial side is to support India's national industrial policies and to get India to its goals where it needs. And we here at Boeing are here to support that commitment. So with that, I'll pass it back to Brian.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, John. All right, questions? Anyone? Ladies first.
You talked about the focus areas. Can you elaborate on the raw materials development and R&D? What exactly are
Space and homeland security, so we will continue to have dialogue and engage in those areas. In terms of raw materials and research and development, as Dinesh mentioned, we have this Research and Technology Center, and the whole purpose is to collaborate with the Indian industry as well as Indian academia to look at areas of mutual benefit.
what are the policy changes you are seeking with the MOD on the offset procedures?
So it's a good question. You know, we applaud the government that they have, and the defense ministers have announced that every year that the DPP will continue to evolve. I think the DPP is a very strong foundational document that guides procurement in this country. And in terms of offsets, and to answer your question there, as the DPP evolves, we'd like to see the inclusion of commercial aerospace work be applicable for defense offsets, because again, I think the beneficiary of that would be the Indian industry, as well as, of course, the foreign OEM. And so we are engaged through a host of chambers here, like USIBC, AmCham, and also CII, FICCI, and ASSOCHAM, to come up with an industry consensus on the way we see the policy evolving for the benefit of not just American companies, but Indian companies as well.
You said you have announced a partnership with HAL as part of the PA offsets.
Correct.
Now, how much is this worth, and what is the total value of the PA offsets? And are there any more such contracts in the pipeline with any other company?
Absolutely. So, like I mentioned, it's $640 million plus worth of total offsets on the PA and we will continue to place contracts to fulfill our obligations, obviously. This particular contract, we have it in a press release, but is of the order of $4.5 million.
So you've received an RFI for over here.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
You mentioned you talk about other companies which are part of this PA offsets.
Yes.
For which you can do have contracts. Can you name all these companies?
Well, as I mentioned, on the indigenous equipment, there are companies like BEL, Aventel, and so forth. And as these contracts are placed, we will certainly be announced.
So you received an RFI for a new class of mid-air tankers for the Indian Air Force.
Right.
How competitive do you think your aircraft would be in the contract if it does come up, given the background of the whole US Air Force tanker deal with controversy back in the United States?
So we have received an RFI for 6 tankers. Our teams are looking at that, studying that, and seeing what product may be suitable for what the requirements are specified in the RFI. We haven't yet come to a decision on that yet.
So what would be the percentage of indigenous equipment on PA type?
Like I said, there are certain avionics items that we have already contracted for the indigenous equipment, and that was as specified in the RFP.
Government-to-government agreement, but the SISMO, does it apply to the PA delivery? Do you require a separate SISMO agreement for just this transaction, or do you require an overarching one?
The SISMO is a security agreement, and it's again, like I said, a government-to-government agreement. The applicability of that agreement to which platform and whether it's an umbrella agreement, that's again something for the government to do.
I read a report yesterday that the total amount of investment in India through the FDI route has been only like $150,000. So I'm just wondering is Boeing made any investments through that route, or what it will take to get Boeing, what changes would it take to get Boeing to put more FDI into the country?
Okay, so I don't know where you got $150,000 from, but basically, when we are investing here, and we are doing it in a collaboration where our companies here, which are based in India, are the ones that are producing goods, are sending it out. Boeing isn't building a brick and mortar company and producing parts and then shipping it back, right? But as these things continue to happen, okay, the real example of our FDI is a good example of what we're doing in Nagpur in the MRO, okay? That's going to be a real investment that we already announced to the tune of $100 million. That is the only entity that we are doing. Similarly, we have done the training parts in the commercial side, which is an FDI, which doesn't get counted as an FDI into the books, but that is the investment that Boeing is going to